Yo, what is up guys? Delboy here, aka Blue Collar Sports TV. Hopefully you guys are doing well. If you're new here, smash that like, hit subscribe, all of that good stuff. So Joyce defeats Kash Ali via a 10th round stoppage. 10th and final round, Kash Ali tired, spent, and Joyce finally takes him out after what was a relatively uninspiring performance, I would say. Joyce, for me, in this bout, took a little too long to get going against a guy in Kash Ali who is basically area level in the UK. He's not British title level, mate. He's like area level, English title level. That's where he's at in the domestic scene. And for me, I expected Joyce to take care of Kash Ali in much more swift fashion, I would say. You know, I appreciate Joyce's coming off 2 stoppage losses to Zhili Zhang. But, you know, like I said, Kash Ali is not a top 50 heavyweight in the world. He's a low-level domestic fighter. And yeah, with that being said, I expected Joyce to take care of him, get rid of him a lot earlier than he did. Going into this fight, he weighed in at a career high heaviest. And in this bout, for me, the intensity that we're used to seeing from Joyce prior to the Zhili Zhang fights wasn't really there. Don't get me wrong, he clearly had the higher punch output. He was fighting in his usual style, as in coming forwards, pretty aggressive, you know, punches in bunches, mixing shots from body to head. He was fighting like he usually fights, however, I just felt the intensity wasn't there that we were used to seeing prior to the Zhili Zhang fights. For me in this bout, and I know Joyce has the reputation of being a slow fighter, when he lets go of his shots, and he's not the quickest in the world. But in this fight, for me, his work just seemed forced, if that makes sense. It was like him putting the shots together took effort, whereas beforehand, Joyce would fight in this rhythm where it would weirdly flow. It's hard to explain, but he had a weird flow to his style, a weird rhythm that was like a snowball, like just rolling down a hill, and it would get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. In this fight, for me, Joyce's work just seemed forced, is the best way I can describe it. Defensively, Kash Ali was able to take advantage of Joyce's porous defense, mainly the low lead hand. Kash Ali was taking a half step back, you know, back against the ropes or into the corner, and he would fire his overhand right over the lead hand of Joyce, and it would catch Joyce on the forehead, sometimes on the chin, and he landed that shot throughout this fight at stages, but Joyce walked through it. That shot bounced off Joyce, and after a while, after like the 4th or 5th round, you could see Kash Ali, he began to get demoralised, and he was throwing less and less shots, and Kash Ali kind of went into survival mode, and he was doing a pretty good job of spoiling, you know, trying to get through it. I never expected him to go this far into the fight, round 10. And yeah, I mean, he was spoiling, he was throwing when he could here and there, he was landing the odd shot here and there, but he couldn't get Joyce's respect, and Joyce slowly started to grind him down, and the difference really was Joyce started to focus on the body a lot more in like the mid-rounds onwards, and that really started to deplete Kash Ali's gas tank. And in the last sort of 3 rounds or so, Kash Ali really wasn't throwing many punches. And yeah, going into the 10th round, Kash Ali hadn't won a round, had a couple of little bits of success here and there, but he hadn't won a round. He came out, he tried to throw a few shots, which landed on Joyce, but they bounced off. And then, you know, Ali started to get desperate, he started to get loose and ragged. Joyce landed a short hook towards the end of round 10, which was the last round, 16 seconds left, and it knocks Kash Ali out. Well, it stops Kash Ali. Kash Ali beat the count just about, but he basically got up at 9.9, and the referee waved it off, so it is what it is. Joyce was the dominant force in this fight. He was winning every round. He got the stoppage, but for me, I don't know, I was expecting a bit more after those 2 back-to-back defeats. I was expecting Joe to go in there and try to make a statement, but I don't think he really did that, to be honest. Kash Ali, you know, showed some decent toughness at times, spoiled at times, tried to fire the overhand right. Kash Ali's game plan was pretty simple. basically land one perfect shot, which was the overhand right, hoping to knock out Joe Joyce. Never worked out for him. He got stopped. And yeah, Joe Joyce moves on from here. Not sure who I'd like to see Joe Joyce fight next. Maybe a guy like Martin Bacole, but I doubt that fight would happen. Not really sure where Joe Joyce goes from here. Would Frank Warren try to make Joe Joyce versus Dubois after that fight? Maybe he feels that Dubois can now avenge that defeat. Maybe that fight could make sense. An in-house fight at Queensbury. I'm sure there's fights out there for Joe Joyce, but right now, off the top of my head, I can't really think of many that jump out at me, to be honest. But, yeah, Joyce won the fight. He won the fight. One more thing, actually. Richard Towers, who was a former heavyweight and the trainer of Kash Ali, he was trying to motivate his man in between rounds, as you do as a trainer. And he basically went full Teddy Atlas. He was saying, I would beat this guy right now, Joe Joyce. And he was calling his fighter a pussy, calling him a fucking idiot. And the commentator, I think it's Darren Fletcher, was getting a little soy about it. Oh, you can't say that to a fighter. I'm not used to hearing that in a corner. This is boxing, bro. I just wanted to put that out there. I liked what I heard from Richard Towers. He knew his man was, you know, he knew his man only had one chance, which was to land a perfect shot. So he tried to encourage him to let go of his hands and land that perfect shot. And he tried, you know, after round 9 when he read him the riot act. He tried it at the beginning of round 10, landed a couple of shots, but he just never had the power. People criticising Richard Towers for getting aggressive with his fighter in the corner. Come on, man. It was good TV. You know, he was trying his best to get something out of his fighter. It was what it was. People moaning about everything these days while they're watching a blood sport. You know, moaning about mean words while they're watching a blood sport. It is what it is, though. Big up to Richard Towers. Yeah, share your thoughts below. Been your guy, Del Boy. Peace.